Sorry about that. I had a technical difficulty. I had a different question up. There we go. Okay, so it looks like we have St. Joseph County, Delaware City, Harrison, Hancock, Vermilion, Morgan County, Clinton, Madison, Harrison. Got Adams County. All right. Great. So it looks like we have several people from Morgan County and St. Joseph County. That's awesome. We're going to go ahead and move on. So let me share that screen again. All right, so what we're gonna do now is Leslie is actually gonna put us all into breakout rooms. So she's gonna give some instructions for when you go to your breakout room, what you'll need to do, which is not much, but I would like you to discuss the question that I have posed at the top of the slide, which is how are pizza and youth development similar? So Leslie, can you explain what's gonna happen as we go into breakout rooms?
Yeah, so I've got it pre-programmed. You're going to randomly be put into 4 different breakout rooms. So you'll have a small group in there. You can either, there will be a pop-up that'll come up that you can say, accept the invitation to join, or after a few seconds, it'll go ahead and push you into the room. And then we will leave you in there for a certain amount of time. You'll get a reminder when you've got 60 seconds left, so you'll want to wrap up your conversation, and then it'll either let you join back to the room or the room will close and dump you back in with everybody. So there's also a little button in there that if you need to ask for help, you can click that and it'll pop me in kind of like a genie. So let us know if you need anything.
All right, so please get with your groups and discuss how are pizza and youth development similar.
And Heather, you said how many minutes are they going to have for this?
We're going to have 5 minutes to discuss that, and then we're going to come back and share with the rest of the group.
Okay, rooms are opening.
opening my screen. There we go.
Welcome back, everyone.
I think it's still counting down, so we'll have a few joining us here in a minute.
Yep, looks like we've got one room still in deep discussion, so
Awesome.
they'll all get popped back here in just a second. Okay, Heather, I believe everybody is back.
All right, perfect. Well, I want to hear from a few of you. I was in one of the breakout rooms and we had some great discussion, but would anybody like to share their thoughts on how pizza and youth development are similar? And feel free to unmute your microphone, say your name and where you're from, and I'm excited to hear some of your thoughts.
Was there a representative from breakout room 1? That would have been the one with Karen Gilbert and Rebecca Wilkins.
Sure, I'll go ahead and speak for our group. We talked about how there are so many ways to do pizza, so many choices as far as the crust style and the toppings and the type of sauce, if you use sauce or if you don't use sauce. And like with youth development, there's just so many ways to do it and so many choices of in 4-H, at least different activities and projects and just different ways to do 4-H. So they both have a lot of different facets to them.
Awesome.
Anything that I missed, group number 1?
Thanks, Karen.
Yep.
All right, would somebody else like to share what their group discussed? I wish I could send you a pizza through the computer. If we were doing this in person, we'd be having pizza tonight.
With group 2, we just talked about how each individual piece is different, but yet when you put them all together, you can bring a group together that works together.
Awesome.
Yes, that's good. We also
Thanks.
said if you want them to come, you serve pizza, which again would be kind of an analogy to, okay, give them something to come for, and they will participate. If it's pizza, popcorn, or working on a project or community involvement or anything, but if you give them something to, I don't know, to look forward to or to have a reason to be there, they show up.
That's true.
Awesome. Thanks, Joanne.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have a thought about that? All right, well, that's okay. We'll go ahead and move on. Thank you for those thoughts. When we think about the essential elements of positive youth development, I actually have a poster of it in my office. We use the pizza analogy because there are actually 8 different essential elements, and we will be discussing those tonight.
Okay.
So what I want you to do now is I want you to think about your 4-H background and why you're actually involved in 4-H now. So I have another survey question for you. I actually learned about this tool just this week with, we had our state 4-H educator virtual conference. And so it's called Slido. So if you do anything virtually right now with your kids, it's a fun way to poll them. So that's why I wanted to try it out tonight. But if you could visit slido.com and enter that same code, or if you left it up, the question will just pop up. I would like for you to answer, why are you involved in volunteering with 4-H? Awesome. So can everybody see those words popping up on the screen? Kids would love this, by the way. We're going to talk about how what you're learning tonight, you can actually take some of these techniques back to your 4-H club. And I'll explain what if we were in person, some things you could do as well. So we have serve my community, give back to a program, to watch young people grow, life skills taught. I'm a new 4-H educator, watching the youth learn, to be positive influence, livestock education, the aha moment, leadership, educate youth, to fill a need, to grow young people, make a positive difference. Awesome. So we're all passionate about 4-H, right? Could I make that general assumption?
Oh, yes.
Awesome. Well, we are going to go into breakout rooms again. And so what I would like for you to do is just take about 5 minutes, and I want you to share what your 4-H background is. And it's okay if you don't have a 4-H background or you were in 4-H as a child. I have several volunteers who didn't grow up in the 4-H program, and that's okay. But I want you to take a little bit of time to get to know those other people in your room, talk about your background, and talk about why you're involved now. Maybe share some specific stories of why you're involved in the 4-H program. All right, so Leslie's gonna push us out into breakout rooms again, and we're gonna discuss and come back and share in about 5 minutes.
Okay, rooms are opening now.
Okay.
And you have everyone back, Heather.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you all. I want to hear just a few people's 4-H backgrounds. I guess I'll start by sharing mine. I was in the Jackson County 4-H program for 10 years, I guess, plus many 4-H. I grew up here in Jackson County. I did not live in the country then. I do now. So I always said I took the city projects, sewing, cake decorating, scrapbooking. My favorite project was probably sewing and cake decorating. I absolutely loved 4-H. I actually met my husband through 4-H, but we didn't connect until years later, but we were the king and queen for our 4-H program in 2003, and then got married in 2015. So that's our little story. We were the 4-H king and queen forever. And I actually, after college, moved out to California for about 8 years. It's not that I forgot about the 4-H program, because I came home for the county fair every single year, but I never imagined a career in extension. I was a second grade teacher for a while, and I came home one year, and the 4-H educator position was vacant. So I applied for it and then moved back to Jackson County to be the 4-H educator and to get married, obviously. So that's kind of my 4-H background and why I'm involved in 4-H. I love it. I loved being a teacher, but about year 5, I kind of got the itch to do something different. So that's when I got my master's in administration. Thought maybe I'd want to be a principal. But now, after working for Purdue Extension, I love the informal education setting. I love that kids get to choose what they learn about. So I don't think I'll ever go back to the formal education system. So that's my 4-H background, and that's why I'm involved now. Would any of you like to share your 4-H background or why you're involved?
I will.
Awesome.
I was also a city kid, but through school, we had a wonderful home ec teacher who was very, very involved. She pushed all of us who had just the slightest bit of sewing talent to join a project. And with that, we had some local farmers who said, if you guys are going to do it, let's do it. And they provided us with livestock for our first years. After that, they continued to provide us with livestock since we came out and cleaned and did all of our stuff. I do find it funny that you went from education and went to 4-H. Mine kind of led me different ways. I was from corporate America, and through 4-H decided to go to my school. So I left my job in corporate America and came to our local school to work just as an administrator, and it's all because of 4-H. I saw what I could do in my community through those summer months and thought, these kids could really use somebody rooting them on throughout the year. So I changed directions for myself and went that way. And it's all been history from there, I guess.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Rachel. Would anybody else like to share about their background and why you're involved now?
I'm just involved because my kids, my grandparents had a dairy farm, but we didn't take them to the fair, but my spouse was involved in the swine when he was in. So when our kids came along, we took them into swine and then eventually beef. And I just like the bond the kids build with the animals as they raise them and take care of them, but then also learn that, yeah, at the end, the rough part is they go away and they're part of the life cycle, but it teaches them a lesson that you need to take care of something before it serves another purpose.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Rachel. Anybody else? All right. Well, what was kind of the common theme you heard about some of these experiences?
There were several who said that 4-H helped them decide what their career would be. And that's really one of our big goals, is to help young people find their interests and their passions and make that into a career, or at least a lifetime hobby.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Rena. What are some of the different ways you all are involved? I know in my breakout room at first, there was a poultry superintendent, a communication specialist, among others. How are you involved in your 4-H program? Are you a club leader? Are you a livestock superintendent? Could we just, maybe I'll call on you and just let me know how you're involved in your program. Joyce. Oh, we gotta get unmuted.
There you go. I'm the communications coordinator for the Township Club, and then I will be the outgoing secretary because of term limits to the Advisory Council.
Awesome. And Cheryl, how are you involved?
I am the poultry superintendent and an adult volunteer for the dog club.
Angela?
I'm genealogy leader for our county.
Rachel?
I'm a livestock for the beef club, a leader for the beef club.
Perfect. I see I have two Rachels. Awesome. Rachel Martin.
I am a building superintendent and a 4-H club leader.
Awesome. Lenora?
I am a committee person for our goat club and secretary in the office. Livestock and auction, I guess.
Judy?
I help with the dog program.
Okay. Diane?
I work in the Floyd County Extension Office.
Okay. Rissa?
I am a leader for our local club and specifically for the minis.
Oh, awesome. Great. I was telling a story about my mini club in our breakout room a little while ago. Rena?
I'm an extension educator and a county director. And I work with the swine club, of course, you know, by nature of the job, with the junior leaders and all the boards that we work with.
Yes, I missed working with Rena at the State Fair Swine Show. That's our usual time to spend 3 days together at the Gilt Show.
We have to do better next year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Joanne. Oh, you're muted, Joanne. I'm going to unmute you. Leslie, can you unmute Joanne?
Oh,
Oh, there you go. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm a member of the Extension Board, a 40-year 4-H leader. I help with 3 different projects and anything else that needs to be done.
Awesome. Karen.
Hey everyone, I am a new extension educator, so I, like Rena, work with our boards, our advisory council, and involved with our junior leaders. So glad to be here.
Great. Leah.
I do livestock.
Okay, livestock, awesome. Brian, I see you're having a watch party.
Yep. Yeah,
How are your volunteers involved in the program?
Well,
I'm a club leader, careers project superintendent, baby contest chairperson. Whatever needs to be done, I will be helpful.
I'm superintendent of 6 county projects.
and I'm a club leader.
Great, thank you. Vicki.
Oh, that was Vicky in our group.
Oh, okay, there's another, looks like we have another Vicki too.
I got 2 Vickies.
Okay, Tamara.
I am the bicycle rodeo superintendent, a junior leader advisor, a local club leader. I've been a leader for 35 years. I'm an assistant to the GOAT superintendent. I'm the president of the Adult Leaders Club right now and the treasurer of our 4-H council. And an indoor building superintendent for animal science and health.
Awesome, thanks. Amy.
So I started out as a 4-H junior leader advisor, then I turned extension educator. So
awesome.
In that. Yep.
Rachel. You might have to unmute yourself, or Leslie can help you as well.
I think she already went.
Okay. Charity.
I'm a parent volunteer and I help wherever they need me.
All right, and then Julie.
I am a 10-year 4-H member who had children that were 10-year 4-H members, and once they got out, I became part of the 4-H council, treasurer of the 4-H council. I run the auction committee, and I also am project chairman for sewing, consumer clothing, and fashion review.
Awesome, thank you. So as you just heard, we're all involved in 4-H for a number of different reasons. I heard, a genealogy chair, livestock chairperson, 4-H council treasurer, club leader, project superintendents. We all get involved in 4-H because we have different interests and we have different passions, and we want to pass it on to youth. But the one thing we all have in common is that we get involved in 4-H because it's about positive youth development. So you can come to the 4-H program wanting to volunteer with the swine project or the sewing project, and any of these projects can be used to develop our youth. And so as you heard tonight, we're all involved for a variety of different reasons, but the core of our program is positive youth development and really developing those kids. So we're going to get into now what the essential elements of positive youth development are. So we are going to we're going to go into breakout rooms one more time, and we're going to spend just 3 minutes this time. And I want you to brainstorm some of those as what you think those essential elements are. And then we're going to come back and do an activity with an interactive whiteboard. So we're just going to do a quick breakout session, see if you can list what you think those 8 elements are, and then we're going to share that here in a minute. So Leslie, if you could put everybody in breakout rooms again for 3 minutes.
Here you go.
All right, thanks for joining us back in the main room. Leslie's gonna actually, right now you have two different options. You can either take out that piece of paper and pencil and write down some of these, or you can try, we're gonna have an interactive whiteboard. So Leslie's going to show you how you write on our interactive whiteboard, but I wanna see what your thoughts are, what you think the 8 essential elements are.
So in order to write on the whiteboard, you just need to go to the top of the screen and there should be a view options. Click on that and then click annotate, and that'll bring you up a little toolbar, and you can draw or type or whatever you want. And if you want to add what your breakout room talked about, then you can add them on here.
All right, Leslie, if you want to go ahead and save that for us and switch me back to the PowerPoint, then we will discuss these. All right, so we see belonging, independence, time management, promoting self-confidence, encouragement, leadership, developing positive relationships, generosity. These are all great. All right, I'm going to go ahead and switch us back. So those of you who chose to write down something on your piece of paper at home, what did you have down? Anybody? Can anybody share? All right, well, are you ready to find out what the 8 essential elements are? Yes. All right, so in order for us to have a successful 4-H program, 8 elements have to be at play and a part of every program that we design. And so those 8 elements are a safe environment. We want to make sure our kids feel safe when they're at a 4-H program. An inclusive environment. We want to make sure that they feel included in what's going on. Mastery, the opportunity to master a skill. We see that all the time in the 4-H program. As our project requirements, you know, they get a little harder each year. We're adding on something every year. Engagement and learning. They don't want to just sit there and be told something. They want to be engaged in that learning. Self-determination. So they want to have that determination. Service, community service is a huge part of 4-H. Seeing oneself in the future. I heard somebody talk about being, I think it was a careers project superintendent. So how can we get them to, you know, think about, you know, they love cake decorating. Maybe they own a bakery when they're older. So the opportunity to see oneself in the future. And caring adults is our last, and I think probably one of the most important essential elements. You are all caring adults in the 4-H program. You wouldn't be here tonight if you didn't have a passion for working with youth. And I like to tell people that I think the strongest essential element here in Jackson County, I think it has to be the caring adults. We would not have a 4-H program if it was not for our volunteers. You all enable us to reach so many youth in our community because you want to give back and make a difference. So I always, they're all equally important, but we can't have a lot of these if we don't have the caring adults. So does anybody have an example of how you've really seen one of these at work in your county 4-H program or with your, through your volunteer role?
Yes, I have an excellent example. We
Awesome.
had a young set of twins, young as in, when this happened, they were juniors. in high school, so they weren't beginners anymore, but young people. Took rabbits, sold them at the auction, and one of our Farm Bureau people had hooked up with Hoosiers Feeding the Hungry, and they bought animals and donated them to Hoosiers Feeding the Hungry. These kids ended up organizing a buyers group called Meet Hunger, and Meet is spelled MEAT, soliciting funds for the businesses. They got some grants. They got $500 from the Indiana Foundation that would be matched by writing a grant for that. The first year, they ended up being able to buy $7,000 worth of animals at our livestock auction. This last year, they had $27,000, and they were able to be the turn buyer for our virtual auction. They were wonderful, and it's going to be something that spreads to other 4-H'ers in Indiana.
That's awesome. I think did they present at the Leadership Summit last fall? Yes, I remember having a conversation with them. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that story, Joyce. Does anybody else have an example of one of these essential elements you've really seen at work in your county?
We do have a 4-H club that noticed that there was a need for hygiene products in our schools. They took on just a little fun project of learning how to coupon. They all came in with $4 and their stack of coupons, and with one of the other leaders in the club, they made out their shopping list and went. We received so many deodorants and shampoos and everything else. It was thousands of dollars worth of products. And we had, I think, 12 kids participate with their $4. So, for $50 in investment, they brought us thousands of dollars worth of product that we were able to give out to kids in the community who needed some help with something that may sound simple, but to them it was a really big deal. So
awesome. So yeah, we've had two great community service projects already mentioned on the call. So I think service is definitely a huge part of what we do in 4-H. What about let's see, it was Angela, you're the genealogy superintendent. We were talking earlier. Have you been able to see the mastery in the kids from when they enroll in genealogy in year 1 by the time they get to year 10?
I've only had one do that. I've been the leader for 11 years, and I have one girl, this last year was her 10th year. And she came in with 13 of those binders on her last. And so, yeah, it's pretty impressive and that she knows it. In the first year, usually their parents are doing most of the talking, and you can tell the parents more excited about it than the kid. But as it moves up through the years, the kids get more excited about it, and they do the talking, and they have really learned about the history. So yeah, that's a really cool part of it.
Awesome.
That is one of the hardest ones to achieve mastery. That project is no joke.
It is. And you think about, I heard a fashion review chairperson on the call as well, sewing. So you have the kids who sew that very simple garment in 3rd grade, but by the time they're out of 4-H, here they are, sewing wool coats and formals. So we provide mastery in every project we offer. We really want to see those kids be able to master those skills. So those are just a few examples. Does anybody else have any other examples on any of these essential elements or ways you implement it in your club? Yeah, go ahead, Leslie.
I can share an example on that self-determination. That one's usually kind of tricky, but I find it most prevalent in junior leaders when we're giving them the power at the beginning of the year to decide what do they want to do. It's their choice, their drive. When we have these clubs that have bank accounts, it's their money. They get to decide how it's spent and what they do. So giving them that opportunity, I think, is really valuable.
Awesome. Does anybody have any examples for an inclusive environment?
I wish you did, because I wish that we could figure out a way to bring in the city kids to get rid of it's a farm only organization. We do have a couple of Spark programs, but they start out okay in that 3rd grade and 4th grade, but then it doesn't go any further than that, because at that point then they need to be incorporated into our regular one, and we don't have an inner city way to do that.
Yeah, and there are a lot of different ways to get that accomplished, and it can be, you know, inclusive at the county level or inclusive with your 4-H club. This is one of the trainings all my volunteers are required to go through this essential elements training in their first year of becoming a 4-H volunteer. So what I always do, and it's silly, so whenever my volunteers are coming to this training, I would make them all put on a 4-H Clover sticker. And, you know, they think it's silly at first, but then we discuss how, you know, if you do that with your kids, they feel included because they're all wearing the Clover sticker, and you're creating that inclusive environment in your 4-H club. So there are little things we can even just do in our 4-H club or different projects to promote that inclusive environment. There's also, you know, a lot of different ways you can work with funding to bring some of those programs maybe to youth who might not otherwise have that opportunity. So I would encourage you to have those conversations with your 4-H educators in your county.
And Heather, can I add to that for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Joyce, too, your 4-H educator should have a copy of the same curriculum. It's the essential elements that Heather's using tonight. And it's got a whole section on belonging, and it gives some tips and tricks on creating that belonging environment, which is an inclusive environment. So it's things like giving them an identity, like Heather mentioned with the Clover, giving them t-shirts or making them all wear name tags so that they know each other's name and talk to each other by name. That's really important for those youngsters. So yeah, follow up with that.
Well, we do that in our beef club. We're trying to bring in more, like we started a starter club. It's a lottery where the leaders go out and purchase the calves. The kids that don't live on a farm can pick a number and they get a calf, and it's theirs to raise for 3 months and then sell at the auction. And if they need to house it somewhere, sometimes a leader will house it at their house, and they just come out and do the work for it. And we do that with the larger steers also, but I know the little kids sometimes are scared of the big steers. So that's why we started with a little calf in April, and they only have it 3 months. Hopefully they work and want to do the larger animals when they get older.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing, Rachel. And kind of like Leslie said, all of your 4-H educators should have access to this curriculum. So tonight was it was a broad overview of these 8 essential elements, but within that training curriculum, there's actually about an hour to an hour and a half training for creating that safe environment or that inclusive environment. So if you're interested in diving a little deeper into this, reach out to your 4-H educator. Just talking right now, I just got an idea for another series. A virtual series on all of the essential elements. So yeah, I would encourage you to think over this next year. I know we're starting to get back to in-person, thinking about the safe environment. You know, we're all required right now to fill out a safety plan to be able to meet in person. And I've had a lot of my club leaders submitting those safety plans because we want our families to know that they're going to be safe when they come to a 4-H program. So we're going to do a little reflection activity right now to finish us off for the night. And so I'm actually going to press send on an email where you will have a fillable PDF you can fill out if you would like, or you can have all the questions here on the slide and just jot down some notes on a piece of paper that you have at home. So for the first question, I want you to pick one of those essential elements. Just one. It can be overwhelming to think about all 8 of them, but I want you to pick one that you're really going to focus on for this 2020-2021 program year. So what are some ways that you can provide opportunities to develop Pick one of those 8 elements in your role as a 4-H volunteer. Then I want you to write down, or again, I'm going to press send on that email. You'll be getting that in just about 30 seconds. Which essential element do you consider a strength in your county 4-H program and why? And why do you think including the essential elements in the county 4-H program is important? So we're going to take about 5 minutes, and we are going to share out here in a few minutes. So I just sent that email. If you want to complete it electronically, you can do it electronically, or you can just jot down some notes, and we'll share out at about 7:35. All right, would anybody like to share which essential element they're going to focus on for this next program year in really developing?
I'll start. One of the things I think is mastery and helping, especially like the 3rd and 4th graders, when they are interested in projects, kind of hooking them up with someone who has either like the 5th or 6th year in a project, or has taken, you know, all 10 years of it, and kind of give them an idea of what the future could be. Because I know my own situation is that, you know, I think, well, if they're doing electricity, it's silly to make that little battery thing that they flip back and forth and the batteries wear out and then they wonder what else they're supposed to do. But getting their parents to see that too, that, okay, this is what's going on down the line, and this is just not making a little battery or a a light stick that's only going to last for a little bit.
No, that's awesome. And that is especially a project you want those kids to have mastery in, because you don't want them messing around with electricity if they don't have those basics from, their 3rd grade year on. So awesome. Thanks, Joanne. Anybody else? Yeah.
I would just say one more little thing on that. In that seeing oneself in the future, that's one that we've kind of worked on, is bringing in electricians or taking them to places where they can see what kind of jobs are out there. And this is not just for the males, but, the explosion of opportunities for females in this area. And they just don't think about it because they don't look down the road.
Exactly. Yeah, we always have somebody from like a rural electric company do our judging for electricity. So again, that's seeing yourself in the future. Thanks, Joanne. Anybody else want to share which essential element you're going to work on developing?
Yeah, I have an idea for this year as far as engaging in learning. We try to have workshops for our poultry project every month. And so trying to come up with creative ways to engage the kids in order for them to learn about poultry and eggs and the fact that we're actually producing food. And, having a safe food supply and just learning all about the different breeds of poultry and helping the kids to just really be responsible for the animals that they have and good biosecurity and many of those kinds of things that they need to learn about in order to just have a safe environment and safe food supply, to see the importance of that. But also to do that in a way that's engaging with them. Because, I mean, you can get up there and do lectures all day long and you just lose them, really. And year after year, you kind of tend to do the same thing. So finding new ways to engage them and, creative things, games, videos, different things that we can do to keep them engaged. So that's what I'm going to be looking into for this year, to kind of change things up a little bit, but at the same time, it's really important to give them the education that they need to raise these animals. So that's
awesome. Thanks, Cheryl. Yeah, they want to be engaged in their learning, right? They want to be doing hands-on. So wonderful.
Right.
Thanks for sharing. Anybody else? Maybe one more volunteer?
Well, COVID kind of hit our plans pretty hard this last year. So we were supposed to start an after-school program. It was a club that met once a week. Every Wednesdays, it was different group depending on your age. Our school was kind of sponsoring taking that on. But we were definitely focusing on an inclusive environment. Seeing yourself in the future, we had lots of guest speakers from Bex and Poet and different types of ag related is kind of what we had planned out and set this year. And then very much focusing on service. We felt like the kids get more out of it when they give. So I'm hoping COVID goes and pushes itself aside a little bit. We're able to have some one-on-one meetings and start that club off to a good start. I've had lots of people in our community saying, when is the club opening for our kids? And I have to remind them, just because it's an after-school club, 4-H is still open to you all the time. So we might just have to wait on the after-school club and join one of our more traditional clubs. But we kind of looked at it as one of our pathways that we have within our school corporation, and bringing 4-H in to meet some of those pathways. So we are trying to grab those city kids and show them that they too can be part of all the things that 4-H has to offer. So
that's awesome. I can't wait to hear that they get to start meeting. And what county are you in again, Rachel?
We're in Madison County.
You're in Madison County. Okay, great. Awesome. Would anybody like to share what essential element you consider a strength in your County 4-H program and why? I just realized I have a typo to correct on that slide now. But it could be multiple strengths. But does anybody want to share? What do you see as a strength in your program?
I see a lot of people just working together, adults, you know, and children. So.
Yeah, so those caring adults, it sounds like then the caring adults are working hand in hand with the kids, right?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Judy. Anybody else want to share?
I'll piggyback off of Judy. I would agree that in our county, we have a lot of passionate adults who are very passionate to work with kids in their specialty area. So definitely the caring adults.
Thanks, Karen. And just to kind of finish us off for the night, why do you think it's important to include these elements in our county 4-H program? Why is that so important?
I think they help to basically raise a caring adult, which is very much needed, and they are willing to give back and work with the youth below them to bring them up in that same manner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a reason we're the largest youth development organization in the nation. And I think a lot of that is how we're grounded, and we're grounded in these essential elements. If we take just one of these pieces of pizza out, it's not going to taste the same. Our 4-H program is not going to look the same if I take out a safe environment. It's really hard to have those other 7 without that safe environment. So I just want to encourage you all to think about, you know, these essential elements as you move forward in your program. If you're interested in learning more about these essential elements, again, reach out to the 4-H educator in your county. Any of us on the call too are also willing to have those conversations and provide you with resources and just different activities you can do with the kids to foster that inclusive environment. And that safe environment where kids are engaged in their learning and they're mastering skills over their time in 4-H. So we appreciate everybody logging on to this call tonight. It was great to have volunteers here from across the state of Indiana that we wouldn't have been able to get together in person. So we appreciate you logging on virtually. Before we go, does anybody have any questions?
I just have one.
Yeah, go ahead, Joanne.
Has this been recorded? Because I know when talking to people about this series, again, some of us are not real technically savvy, and we're not sure of what we were going to be getting into. And I would really like to be able to show them, it's like, hey, this is what we did, and nobody died, had blood, or anything like that. And just the idea that there are other people with other ideas. And it might encourage some more people for future ones.
Yes, so Leslie's recording it. We will make sure we save that, and I will email out that link to all of you. That the email that I sent the connection information through, we'll make sure that you get that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we're really excited for this volunteer series, and we have ones planned from now all the way through April. And so we know we might be doing more in-person events by then, but this is a way that we can, you know, really reach, you know, our 4-H volunteer colleagues across the state. And like you said, Joanne, share those ideas. Yeah, we'll make sure that we have that recording.
And this one, just to give you a little preview, this one is a really great overview sort of thing. The next ones that you'll be getting, you'll get some more like hands-on, take the curriculum to your club, immediately start implementing it. So this is a good foundation, and then we'll get into some other activities that you can take and run with it.
Yeah, we hope you'll join us for some future ones. Thank you for joining us tonight. Leslie's also going to put this link in the chat box. So if we would really appreciate it if you take a few minutes just to give us some feedback. This is the first of our virtual volunteer training series, and so we would love to refine them for the future. I did this program one other time last May. I was actually supposed to go to a county in my area in person, and so we flip-flopped and did it virtually, but we would love to get some feedback on how to improve, and we really want to know how you're going to use this knowledge in the future. So if you just take a few minutes to fill out that survey, we would appreciate it.
And I'll do a shameless plug now. I will be presenting with fellow educators in November on the Animal Science Volunteer Cafe. So we'll be giving you some tools and resources and just different ways of thinking about animal science in a club meeting or in a hands-on activity. So I hope to see all of you and bring some friends in November.
Awesome. Thank you all. We'll leave this link up for a few minutes so you can copy that down, and we're gonna close this on Friday. So if you want to, come back to it tomorrow, you're more than welcome to, but it will close down on Friday afternoon. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this.
You're welcome.
Yep, thank you.